What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today I'm going to crown the best dividend stock. I'm probably going to get lit up in the comments, but that's cool. I'm doing it anyway. I recently made videos on the best paying monthly dividends as well as the best ETFs, and people requested the best overall dividend stock. I thought it'd be easy, got myself in it. It was tough, but I narrowed the list down to about 16 stocks that are super popular and ones that I think are awesome right now. I'm going to measure them among a bunch of different metrics that I find important. Remember, guys, this is just my opinion. It's not that serious. It's just a YouTube video. All right, and after all said and done, we'll rank each metric, and then we'll see which is the best dividend stock to buy right now. So if you saw my previous videos, you guys know how I'm going to do this. If you haven't, I'll link them down in the description in the comments. You could check out to find out what's the best monthly paying dividend stock as well as the best dividend ETF. But here's the 16 that I've chose. I'm not going to go through each company and what they do. You guys can do your own research on that. A lot of these companies you have heard of, maybe some that are not as popular in the consumer world to the regular beginner. But like I said, use this as an opportunity to do some research, find some stuff out. Like I said, that's what this is for. I just want to bring light maybe to some stocks that you as a beginner may not have ever heard of. All right, so they run across, I've put their ticker symbol as well as their company name, everything from 3M, Coca-Cola, all the way down to Caterpillar, AT&T, as well as some other stocks as well. The metrics that I want to measure these on are the dividend yield. So what is the yield of the dividend they're paying right now? Their forward earnings per share. I think that's super important. How much money are they bringing in per share? Kind of shows their profitability. Their PE ratio. This one could be a little different because I know that PE ratios are going to vary among different sectors, but we could keep it pretty close and we can definitely compare it to the S&P 500, which is about 20 right now, to see what kind of PE is something overvalued, undervalued, something like that. The payout ratio, which I think is super important when it comes to dividend stocks. Is that dividend stressing out the company? Are they paying too much dividends as opposed to how much money they're bringing in? A super awesome metric to look at. The 5-year CAGR, is that dividend growing over time? As a dividend investor, we want that dividend to continue to grow over time, and looking at the 5-year compound annual growth rate is a great way to do so. The year-to-date return, like I said, these aren't growth stocks. I'm not worried about like stocks that are shooting up into the sky. You know, we know that dividend stocks are going to trade pretty parallel, maybe a little up, maybe a little down. But I want to know if one of them is getting hammered or one of them is shooting up and why that might be the case. The net margin that a business is operating at is super important. We want that margin to be high, right? We want the cost of doing business to be low and their revenue to be really high. That's what's going to set that margin rate. And then also the total cash that a company has and the total debt is definitely relative to the size of the company. So what I did is I took a ratio of the debt to cash to see if somebody has a ton of debt. Like we know AT&T has a ton of debt. So we want this number to be really, really low. We don't want them to have a ton of debt as opposed to their cash. Now you can break this down and talk about long-term debt, short-term debt. Those are very, very different. But like I said, that's research that you'll do on your own when you look at the different types of debt. I just want to give a general overall picture in this video. Now, for example, guys, here's the dividend yields for each one of those. And I think it's worth mentioning where I'm getting this data from, guys. I'm getting all this data from Seeking Alpha. Like I said, that's been a reliable source for me, but always cross-reference and use different websites. This is not always going to be 100% correct, depending on when a website updates their information. But for this particular video, to stay consistent, I use Seeking Alpha for all of the metrics inside this video. Like I said, I'm not going to do each one, but like I said, I went Seeking Alpha. You could type in the ticker symbol and it'll give you a world of free information. And if you're a member, you could get more. I'm not a member. I just get the free information. So I listed the current yield for each one of these, and this is what I did for the entire chart. So I'll release this entire chart real quick. Here is all the data that I spent the time to look into. Like I said, I thought it was going to take a few minutes. Wrong. I was up all night doing this. But anyway, so here's all the information. Now, all of this information looks crazy. So what I did is I added a score column and then I ranked each one individual. Now, I know there's going to be some hairy hotshot out there. It's like, oh, this one means more than the other. You should have weighted this category. Like I said, it's not that serious. I pretty much took the best yield and I gave it a 16. The worst yield, I gave it a 1. And I ranked it all the way down the line. And I did the same for each metric. So here's a look at what I'm talking about. So right now we have the best dividend yield is MO, okay? So they got a 16. The worst yield, the group is Target, 2.28. All right, so, and I think it's worth noting, right when I get to MO, full disclosure, the elephant in the room, the people that know, like, I'm an ethical investor, and I know this has been a great stock, super popular. Not something you're going to see in my portfolio, guys. My mom died of lung cancer, so I know that some people invest without ethics. I'm putting them in. I just want to tell you that, like, people are going to say, Brad, I know you don't like MO. Why'd you put it in the video? I want this to be as unbiased as popular. There's a couple on here that ethically I don't think I would ever invest in, but we still have to compare them, right? We have to still add them in if we want to be unbiased. So here's what the whole chart looks like after I ranked each individual category. And I know this looks like a number mess. Like I said, all I did was for forward EPS, I went through whichever had the highest earnings per share. I gave it a 16. Let's see if I can find that real quick. Here it is. AbbVie, the highest earnings per share, they got a 16. The lowest was Leggett and Platt. They got 1.25, so they got a 1. That's essentially all I did. And once I said I didn't rank the debt and the cash, I ranked the ratio. So we can see AbbVie 1.52. They have a debt to cash. And guys, if you saw on my YouTube poll, I asked, can we count AbbVie as being like a dividend aristocrat, even though they're a spinoff of Abbott Laboratories back in 2013? People said yes. And there's a couple of companies on here that are spinoffs of other companies, right? These two are spinoffs. That's why I put them at the end, because I added them after saying, because I said, should we get rid of AbbVie? And no, we put them in. Like, they are spinoffs of old companies. So I think the dividend growth that happened with these spinoffs, I think it's fair to assess, that things are going to be good and we could put them in here. So after I did this, I summed up each individual category. So whichever category has the greatest number, that was the one that did well consistently across all of these metrics. And before I show you guys, if there's a best of that you want me to do, just leave it in the comments down below. I mean, like I said, this one's probably the hardest one to do. I'll get to it. I love data. I'm a freaking data nerd. But let's take a look at exactly who came out on top with this particular metric. And before we see those results, guys, let's take a look at that YouTube poll, guys. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. I always put polls up about videos, get you guys involved. We see J&J got a lot of love. J&J, 3M, J&J, a lot of love. Here's Pepsi, Altria, and Pepsi. Like, it got a ton of love. Let's go back and look at this spreadsheet. Let's release this data here. So by just looking at this data here, we see that AbbVie, they crushed it. And if we look at all of their metrics, guys, they are in the top of all of the metrics that I chose. And that was a little bit of a surprise to me. I did not think AbbVie was going to come out on top, especially after seeing that YouTube poll. We see that Johnson & Johnson, 3M, you guys know what you're talking about. So it was good to see that. But they pretty much tied at 85. We went all the way down. Who was worse? 16. Where's 16? 16 was Colgate, Palmolive. They're just not performing well. They have a great history. But when compared to all of these other dividend aristocrat and kings, it was hard for them to stay on top. Now, some would say maybe some of these shouldn't have been in there and they could have skewed the data. Guys, what I did from here is I just took the top 5 and I re-ranked them. If I take the top 5 and I re-rank them again in the same exact way, we see AbbVie still comes out on top, but now we have 3M and Aflac. So once I get rid of all the other ones, but I think it's safe to say after watching this, like, AbbVie is something that you should be definitely looking into if you want a safe long-term dividend. Now, there's a lot of things going on with Humira. I did a video strictly about AbbVie. You can go back and look at that. But I am a supporter of AbbVie. I own all of these stocks, okay? Full disclosure, I do own all of them. But we see in the top 16, it was 1, 2, these were tied. Once I resorted them and just put in the best of the best, we get them here. And guys, yes, someone's going to say, well, why can't I just own all of them? Yeah, I own all of them. And I think this right here is a solid core of dividend stocks to own. And somebody is definitely going to get in the comments and say, well, duh, they're dividend aristocrats. Tell me, like, this is not confusing stuff, guys. You can handle it, like I said, with a little bit of research. There's definitely some metrics. If there's some metrics I missed for future videos, let me know in the comments. What's a metric that you want to see when I compare dividend stocks that is not a part of this dividend yield, net margin, year return, CAGR? What are some metrics that you need to see to make this more legit for you? But I think regardless of whether you think one of these 5 are the best or another one, you can see that these stocks, they all have pretty solid dividend yields, forward EPS. Somebody asked me if I could show how many years that they've been paying. Like I said, that depends on when a company was started. That's why I left that metric out. But payout ratio, like I said, all of these companies have core, solid dividend characteristics that we're going to want inside a dividend portfolio. For the best monthly paying dividend stocks, click right here, and the best ETFs, I'll leave that right here if you want to see some more videos just like that. If you are new to the channel, consider subscribing. And until I see you on the next one, stay positive, work really, really hard, and always, please, be kind to other people. I hope you have yourself an amazing day and an even better tomorrow.